All right, so Purdy's back, right? Purdy's back and Pearsall's back. So where's Ayuk? How close are we to fully constituted San Francisco's offense? Because wouldn't that be the irony is the defense loses so many big players, but the offense gets everybody back and carries the day?
Well, they're going to have to, Rich, because it's a bunch of rookies playing over there. Robert Saleh is doing his best to scheme it up, but there's only so much you can scheme around when you lose Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and you're just kind of playing guys, maybe before they're ready. Offensively, in terms of Brandon Ayuk, we were talking about this, Rich, I think on this show going all the way back to the end of last season in January and February when there were various rumors where they trade Brandon Ayuk. And what I said then remains true, which was November was kind of the optimistic timeline. He suffered a really bad injury. This was not just a straight ACL. There was real uncertainty about what the timeline would be. And even John Lynch, I believe speaking on local radio yesterday, said, yeah, we were still, trying to get him back this season, but there's no absolutes in terms of that. So we'll see. Brandon Ayuk still has not even been designated to return to practice, opening up a 21-day window. So now all of a sudden we're talking about December most likely at the soonest for Ayuk. But Ricky Pearsall, another guy who they thought they'd get back sooner, they didn't put him on injured reserve, but he's got a PCL injury. Those are really tricky. They've had a few of those out there in San Francisco. It took a while for that knee to really regain the stability, but he's going to be good to go. And then in terms of Brock Purdy, the wild thing when you think about it, Rich, was we had two turf toe injuries in the opening couple weeks of the season. Joe Burrow's was the one that was clinically significantly worse to the extent that it required surgery. Yet here we are in the second week of November. Joe Burrow is back on the practice field at the same time that we're finally seeing Brock Purdy be back into the starting lineup. He did try to return in week 4. That was the only other time he played after getting hurt in the opener. And it was a lot of them just trying to make sure that this was not something that lingered, that he didn't have another setback that could, sideline him for 4, 5, 6 weeks or potentially hamper him all the way into January. And they still hope February here. It was never something where surgery was on the table for Brock Purdy. It was a different injury than what Joe Burrow had. The issue and where you can have a setback with even a less severe level of that injury is if you bend that foot and it gets torqued and you get that flexion, just like how Joe Burrow went down. The same thing happened when Purdy came back in week 4. It's some bad luck that he's outside the pocket and that thing got bent at a bad angle again. They wanted to be really cautious. It helped that Mac Jones was playing at a high level. They're still in the mix. They got their work cut out. Of course, we got a great Seahawks-Rams showdown coming up this weekend for the top of the NFC West, but the 49ers are very much in the mix in the division as well as in the wild card race. Purdy is still their guy. There's never been any doubt about that. Mac Jones gave him the best he could, and we'll be talking about Mac Jones, I'm sure, Rich, in come February and March, and would they trade him? Do they need him to stay on as the NFL's, certainly one of the NFL's top backups? For right now, it is Brock Purdy's time again, and I know that Purdy has been raring to go and remind everybody why they were willing to give him upwards of $50 million a year when they re-signed him back in May.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.